Yum, yum!
All right, Greg here from Pixel Fondue. I got Wes from Allegorithmic, also a Pixel Fondue contributor at times. And we're at the Substance booth at Siggraph 2018, and they've got a new product in beta called Alchemist. So Wes is going to give us a little rundown of what Alchemy is, what it does, what it looks like. So in essence, like, what is Alchemy?
Well, hey Greg, it's thanks for coming by the booth. It's really cool to see you guys, and it's always in the shows you get to see old friends and stuff. It's pretty cool.
And we've met in person at least once, right? You came by my office.
Yeah,
we did.
We came by.
Yeah, substance painter and designer, but that may have been the only time I've met you.
Yes. Well, we had the I've known you from the Luxology forums and things like that from back in the day.
Of course, Pixel Fondue, but it's funny when you meet people. I met William Vaughn for the first time. I never actually met him.
Oh yeah.
The other day. And I was really disappointed. He was like 4 inches taller than me.
Oh yeah. He's super tall. Yeah.
Exactly.
This is Alchemist, so it's a new product from Substance, and I'll say a new product from Allegorithmic, but it's part of Substance. And so we're showing it here at Siggraph. We actually started to show it yesterday, it was Monday at our Substance Day event. And so what we're showing here is just kind of like the beta version of this, so it's not out yet.
Okay.
This is really still in the alpha stage, but what we're showing is just getting it out here, just talking to people, letting them know what Alchemist is, what it does. Basically we look at Alchemist and it's going to be just another part of the Substance tool set, so part of Substance subscription. And allows you to do quite a few things. Allows you to look at materials. So over here on my Explore tab, I have a set of materials that I've brought in from, say, Substance Designer libraries and things like that.
Okay.
I can build up a collection, which I'm starting to do here. So I'm just looking at some different materials. And then I can start to say, okay, well, I can come in and, of course, because it's a substance, and I could work around with, things like, the crack amount here, or like the lichen spreading, things like this.
It brings in a substance material. You have a library over there. You can probably search through really quickly if you have a vast amount of assets. And then it also brings in all the channels as well. So it's better than a shader ball, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh, of course, yeah. And so, I'm able to look at my content. But where Alchemist starts to really shine is what I can do with the content. So now I can start to do things like, what we call the Inspire tab. So I can look at this here and I could say, all right, well, let's start with maybe this granite rock. So we'll bring this in and let's take a look at, generating some variations of this. So I might do something, here we'll see how this goes, but we'll look at something like maybe, let's just grab this image here and we'll drag this in as an input image.
Okay.
So this now is creating for me a bunch of different variations based on these swatch colors. So now if I just load this in, you can see that, okay, now I'm getting this variation of the material.
Okay, so if you have a color palette for a scene, or the art director gives you a color palette, you can grab some just images. Here we got some lava or something.
Yeah.
And just quickly drag it into your material, and then Alchemy's gonna use some sort of algorithm to pull out some color, determine a color palette from that image, and then apply that to different channels in your substance?
Yeah, exactly. So like you can see here, this actually looks pretty cool. I like this. So what I would do is from this variation, I could say, all right, I have my open, this is my open collection here. So what I'm going to do is just save this down as a version, and let's go back to maybe say, like this variation.
And was that generated from colors from this image?
Yes, exactly.
That's so weird. You get tree bark generated from basically the art-directed magazine cover teacup tablecloth image. That's really weird.
Yeah, so going back, Greg, to what you're asking for about the algorithm, it's exactly that. So we have these different, what we call color strategies. So for example, this is based on purity. If I do representative, I'm going to get like a different range of colors here. And so now Alchemist is going in and generating, a different variation of these colors. So in this case, I think that it's giving me pretty much the same result because of the color swatches. This one's a little bit of a darker version, I think. So I could say, yeah, I like this. So, here I'm just doing, like I said, we're going through like an inspiration. I'm seeing, what can I do with my materials, things like that. So another aspect of it might be, okay, now let's go and look at some creation. So now I'm going to jump over to my Create tab and take one of my inspirations from my material. Let's go with this guy. So I'm going to drag it into here. And let me just remove this base layer for now. So here we have this. And then I might come into a filter stack that we have.
Okay.
And so another thing that's really cool about this is this filter stack can be you know, it can be updated based on anything that you create in Designer. So you, again, have the full power of Substance Designer to create your own filters. So if you're you know, if there's something that you want to do specific, jump into Designer, create that filter, bring it here into Alchemist.
Right.
So what I'm going to do right now is just add something simple like just like a water here. So also let me jump over.
So is your viewport here ray tracing? Is this iRay or is this?
No, this is OpenGL. This is all
Okay.
real time. It's just using a PBR shader. So let me just come over to my environments. We have a bunch of environments we ship
Oh yeah,
with.
there we go.
We use this panorama, so we get a little bit better reflection on this guy
Nice.
here. And then we'll come back over here to the water, and I can do things like just interactively adjust kind of like my water distance. Here I'm also going to change like the wetness distance, come over to the advanced parameters, and increase this up. So now, after I've brought in my material that I had from my library,
Right.
I used the inspiration tab to get a couple different color looks from that. Then I brought it into the Create tab, added some filters on it, so now I get a different preset altogether. So here, I'm going to come over and say, I like this is good, let's save it to the stack. We'll call it just test05. And so then I, have this here into my collection. Actually, I didn't send it to my demo collection, so I could still do that here. We'll say save to stack. The destination will be my demo, and then you'll see it show up here as just a material that I can work with.
So Substance generates a lot of different assets, and you guys have some really good asset management systems within the Substance family of products. Are those the same ones in here? So if you know how to use Substance Painter or Designer, you're kind of working the same way with all these different materials?
Yeah,
and
you're kind
assets?
of working the same way, but Alchemist is a much more simplified process. So you can see that, I'm just jumping in here, there's not a lot of training you got to do. I mean, with Alchemist, you're going to be able to just get in, look at the content you have, blend, mix,
Right.
Do things like that. So to give you an idea, let's come in and let's just delete these guys out. Let's go back to, let's say maybe this guy again. So we'll go back in here to the granite rock. So we have this. Here I'm just going to jump in and add another material, if I can find it here. Let's see. Let me just get this over to my desktop.
Sure. I can imagine art directors are going to love this because they'll be able to give some reference images to their artists with a color palette, and the artists will be able to iterate through the materials and that are sort of applying that color palette to each one of these.
Yeah, and so here you can see that I'm taking two separate substances and working on blending those together. So right now I'm just using sliders, but again, we're in alpha, so you'll be able to paint this blend as well.
Okay.
So we're on our top layer here with our blend. Let's just switch this to more like a dune-like. So we get this kind of result. Another feature that I really like with this is the, let's see, we got height modulation adjustments.
Oh, wow. And so, of course, you'd be able to bring this back into Painter later on if you wanted to touch it up or spit out different channels.
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea. Is I'm using this here to just mix a lot of these values together, and then I can come back, once export these as textures or whatever, bring it into Painter, work with it back again in Designer, or just export it straight out to maybe I want to take this into Unreal and use it that way as well.
So it sounds like Alchemy may be a good starting place for a project. So you're starting a project, you're getting some direction from the client or art director, and you've got a number of assets you're pulling into this, and then you get some quick experimentations with some looks, save those out, then refine them later on.
Yeah, precisely. So right here we're doing this, we're kind of blending this material together. So we have this top material match color. So right now if I take it all the way to 0, you can see that the sand material that I kind of brought in, it's not really matching the albedo value of our original material. So I can automatically have Alchemist make an adjustment to that using this top match color. So the albedos start to match a little bit more appropriately.
Oh, nice. So
yeah,
we'll just sort of do some grading and
exactly,
do it for you. Right.
So then again, we can keep working with our layer stack here. So let's see, just because it looks cool, I add the water back onto it.
Water always looks good.
Yeah, so we come back, I'll just do another little adjustment here to my my level, come into my advanced properties.
And you got a tide pool. Add a couple octopus,
yeah,
a sea urchin. Look at that. And so, yeah, you can also experiment with different lighting variations as well, because you swap out the HDR. So if you want to check this in the sunset sort of situation.
Oh,
or
yeah.
a golden hour or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then also it's all non-destructive, which is the nature of substance. So I can come back and start to adjust more of the lichen spreading. If I wanted to change, like say the color, I can do that here as well.
Awesome.
Just get totally different looks. And it's the thing with Alchemist is you're just in and you're looking at your materials, you're looking how they're blending, and you can just mix, match, put things together, work with variations, iterate over different values, and then you can say, hey, this looks great, I want to use this, let's save this back to my stack. So we'll just call this 07 for my demo. And so now when we started the project, we were working with just a few materials, and then, then as we go back into, whoops, I'm hitting the mouse there, let's go back to Explore. So we started with just a few materials. We generated, let's see, this guy here from some images. You can get all these different looks.
I like that, yeah, sort of Marsy.
Yeah.
So here's a question for you, maybe a little bit of a challenge. Everybody knows Substance is the king of these sort of organic textures. You can get these beautiful organic textures. You can get dirty up things with some scratches and some fingerprints and some things like that really well in Substance. But let's say I'm like a shoe designer and I want to bring in a fabric texture from your library, and then I get the fall season colors, like an image from whoever's doing that at Nike.
Oh, yeah.
I apply that to those materials to kind of see what these variations on that.
Oh yeah, sure. Let's take a look.
Let's do it.
So yeah, here we have some leathers. Let's jump over to. Let's start with maybe a sphere on this one here. So we'll just set it up a bit, and we'll come over to what we have. Let's grab like, let's see, let's go with this guy here with some stitching.
Okay.
All right, so we'll go with something like this, and then let's do the same thing. So we're working on this. Let's go over to our Inspire.
So they made the decision on the new season's colors, and this gets handed down to you as the artist. You're like, all right, I need to come up with like 3 variations by lunch.
Yeah.
Or I get yelled at. And I don't want to do it by hand because all I have to do is grab my image that was just given to me of the new fall colors, which is
exactly, yeah.
Let's say lipstick red.
Yeah, let's go with it. It'll be pretty interesting.
See what happens with that.
Pull this guy into here. You can see, whoops, always make this mistake. I had the previous one loaded. So let's do this. Let's go back to where I was under my Explore, and I'm just going to create a new library. Test. Let's drag this guy into here. I could do some other leathers too, so let's use like maybe this guy, and we'll throw this guy into here as well. Yeah, so just a couple different leathers. So this time when we come over to our Inspire tab, we're going to take our whole collection this time. And we're going to throw our whole collection here. Well, let me clear those because we had some ROMs.
Wait, you can do multiple, you can put all these guys in there at once?
Yep. So now we're getting a couple of these different looks here.
Man, look at that. So that is so cool. So you can grab however many leather textures or fabric textures as you want, put them up in the Inspire tab, pick an image for your art direction, and it just uses some sort of processing or algorithm to determine what colors to put towards what materials, and you come up with like all these different variations. Look at that.
Yeah, and I had a couple different materials that you saw that I was able to drag into my material variations. So now we're just looking at these based on any of these looks.
Yeah,
so
hold on that one. I mean, that's just really cool because if you're an artist toiling away, it's hard to like come up with these variations very quickly. It's hard to pick colors, just in general. Like there's a lot of tools out there to pick colors, and it could take you a while to come up with those 12 variations or whatever you just came up with. And all you did was drag those things up there and then pick an image and you hit a button.
Yeah, and you hit a button, you get your variation like I'm doing here if it's something that you like. So let's say we like this one, I've already placed this here into my collection. If we come over to this version, let's say this is another variation that we like, let's do that. Now again, we're kind of in this inspiration phase, so it may be just a matter of, here, we'll clear out these guys.
I want a jacket that color.
Yeah.
Like Robin's like,
let's grab another one. I mean, what do you think?
Well, let's see. Let's do this one here. That's got a bunch of different colors on it.
Yeah. So we'll bring this in.
Bam, it just sort of, that's part of the magic of this, right?
Yeah, so now we're just generating a bunch of different, again, just a bunch of different variations depending on what input we are. Now this is representative, so it's pulling basically all kinds of samples from the range, but you could also, again, change the algorithm. Okay. So if we switch it to, say, maybe purity, it's only going to grab, notice that the dark is no longer there. So now we get a new set of presets that we could work with.
Nice.
Or we could try to say, you know what, I'd like to just, in this image, grab just the median value that you see. And so this here is going to produce another set of swatches that we use, again, generating more presets.
Right, I like that one.
And so yeah, some of these we're getting some of the same preset, again, as we go through.
So who came up with this idea? I mean, is this something an artist asked you guys to do? Or is it something a programmer thought would be a fun thing to try? Or how did this evolve?
Well, I can say it's just the team at Allegorithmic.
Uh-huh.
So, we have, I say this all the time, we have a lot of brilliant people at Allegorithmic.
Uh-huh.
And it amazes me that I even am lucky enough to be able to work in the company, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I feel like a fish out of water constantly because these guys are all like here. But yeah, honestly, I don't know. From my perspective, they go up on a mountain, they do some magical things and come down, and then they have this thing.
They
so
drop the tablets in Wes's feet.
Yeah, they're like, so this is what we've made. I don't know, but yeah, I give all credit back to the team. They come up with this stuff, and it's magical, and I don't know.
And this will be part of just the Substance Suite, so if you're already a subscriber to Painter or something like that, Indie Suite, so even if you're an indie user, maybe this is going to come to you.
Yeah, if you're subscribed to Substance, Alchemist, when it comes out, you get it free, no extra charge. It's just another added benefit of the subscription. I don't know if we're going to sell it separately, because we also sell Designer and Painter separately. I don't know how that's going to work out, but I do know that it will just be part of subscription. So if you're already a subscriber, it just gets that much better.
Okay, and it's in beta now, so it's not quite released yet.
Yeah, it's in beta now. We have a private beta that we've been doing with various studios. We are going to be having an open beta later this year. So if you go to our website, allegorithmic.com, and sign up, you can get access to the open beta.
Excellent. So I just going to make one final note. Like, I know, again, like Allegorithmic is known a lot for working in the games industry and the visual effects industry and doing some very organic textures and taking perfect textures and messing them up. You have this big material library now, and if somebody does a lot of product rendering, I look at this big material library and I see a bunch of useful assets. And being able to iterate, like you do with leather, if you can do that with a carbon fiber or plastic or a fabric, and get all these different color variations based on an image, it just seems super useful for a whole new set of people.
Yeah, exactly, and we're also we've been known for games, and but we're also branching out. We're looking at VFX, looking at design, and so you'll see with Substance Source, which is our library of set of procedural materials, also scan-based content as well. That's part of those procedurals. We're looking at these different things. Like for instance, we just dropped our automotive. Well, I guess we call it the automotive drop. It's on Substance. And I was talking to one of my coworkers about that, and I didn't know this, but it's 700 materials, which I was like, what? Now I thought it was like, it's like 25 or 50. I didn't know it was like 700. Yeah,
crazy. Like, I think part of the challenge of being an artist nowadays, and something you guys have done well with asset management, is just being able to manage assets. Because 700 materials, you can get lost pretty quickly, and just in the creative process, because you start playing around with things, and the hours go by, and so I think asset management, as all these, especially scan materials start coming in, or scan geometry, and you look around Siggraph now, there seems to be a real push for just sort of bringing the world into the computer, and then being able to manage those assets is going to become really important. So tagging things, stuff like that, and creating libraries that like you've been doing here. You guys have obviously paid a lot of attention to that. So
and Greg, one last thing I want to mention too about Alchemist is like what we've been seeing here is we're working with pre-made content already, but Alchemist is also going to allow you to create content. We didn't go through the demo here too much, but so for example, if you have scan input or like an image, you can drag that in, and it will. I can just show you real briefly here.
So maybe not as involved as Designer, but you can maybe quickly bring in some scans, or do you have access to some of the procedural patterns that you would?
No, it's a bit different. So, for example, we have our product that we have currently, which is bitmap to material. Similar, but this is like the new. This is the new version. And so, for example, I have just an image. I can just drag this in, and it's going to say, "Do you want to bitmap to material this?"
Right.
If you had photograph, like you're trying to do a scan and you have your light, and you're moving from different angles to try to extrapolate some of that data, you can use a multi-angle to material.
Okay.
So if we do bitmap to material,
so that'll pull out the albedo and get rid of some of the baked-in lighting, maybe.
Yes, exactly that. So let me just come into where we have our displacement. Let's move this amplitude down.
I was able to pull a height map out of that as well.
Yes. So right now we haven't done any tiling or anything on it yet, but let me just jump over here to my 2D view, and you can see what we have is base color. It generates normal, ambient occlusion,
just like
height,
that. I mean, just
and so on.
Yeah.
And then you'll have tools. So for instance, excuse me, sorry. Yeah. So for example,
you made up a new word.
Yeah.
Existence.
Yeah.
Example instance.
Yeah. So you guys have to edit that one. So yeah, you have the. You have your height, and you can look at the range here. We obviously have some tonal issues here. So, for example, we would just use one of our filters. We could come in and do equalizer. So we'll just equalize this data. So now it comes in, it equalizes it. We still have a seam in here. We could come in and look at using a tiling tool. So it's down here towards the bottom.
If this gets rid of those, I'm going to flip.
Yeah, so we'll come into our tiling, and here we can show like what our outputs are going to be. So I have a little window, and I can choose where I'm going to actually perform the tiling.
And this is updating over here as well?
It's updating here in the 3D view as we work. So it might be better to do it on a plane here so we get a little bit of a better idea. So here we're starting to work through some of the tiling. So we'll come in and let's see, actually let's go back to our input. Whoops.
So you're grabbing a subsection of this image, and the algorithm on the tiling filter is going to fix the seams on the edges.
Yes, well, so we start to see some of these edges, and we can come into our edge and have full control. So one of the things we do, if you turn off detect edges, you can see that here's the seam. So it's like Photoshop offset filter.
Sure, yeah.
But we have a tool set that comes in and detects the edges, allows us to use the underlying data from the height to start to produce more of a kind of chaotic, kind of, follows the underlying shapes and values
so
and the curvatures. Yeah.
Between those.
So then I'll come in and just kind of blend that out between it. So now you see we really start to make that seam pretty difficult to see. So now that we've gone through that point, we can stop our edit here. We can then go back into, say, let's come out of our edit. So now, if you have some even more issues, like maybe this rock is something that we see a lot of, so we go back to maybe our base color. We could jump over here to using our clone patch. So this tool here is actually being worked on currently.
All right.
So, but
what it's
what it's going to allow you to do, if we come into here, let's see, maybe this stick. So I'm just going to come in and just sample this, and then just start to paint out this stick here. So you can see right in this area, I've cloned that out. You don't see the brush. We're going to add where you can actually see this better. But now we've planed that out. I have control over my edge here, so I can adjust my edge threshold, blur that a bit.
Yeah, look at that.
Now you can see in this area we've just completely painted that out.
And so is that using the same sort of boundary mechanisms as the tiling tool?
Yeah, exactly.
To blend in there.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Yeah, it just gives you a tool to go in and so we might have this little green spot here. So what I might do is just add
any life in your world after the apocalypse hits.
Yeah, that's true.
Get rid of that weed.
Yeah. So we'll just again, whoops, messed that up. We don't want to do another tile on that. So here you're starting to see kind of a bug in the viewport, where we're starting to see some of this issue here. This is just because I had to delete something out of the stack. But again, what we would do is just go through and just add another kind of clone patch on top of that.
You can add as many of those as you want?
Yeah, you can add as many as you want. Then we just come back in and once again, just kind of sample an area and then just come in and just paint out that value here. But see how it's starting to show green here? Again, just part of the bug that I'm kind of dealing with because I had something in my stack and I deleted it out. Yeah. So yeah, the build we have here is still the alpha build.
Sure, yeah. But I see where you're going with it. The idea is basically when you're cloning this stuff out, in Photoshop you have to be really careful about where your source patch is to make sure it blends in with whatever you're cloning out. And here you've got some procedure algorithms going on that are going to take care of some of that for you. It's not going to leave a hard brushstroke scene.
Exactly, yeah, and it makes the process a whole lot easier. So
yeah, way easier.
Let me just again just kind of clear that out so we can see this a bit more, so we can see this work better. Jump back over into here, and I'll just re-add this guy, bitmap to material. All right, so one other thing I kind of want to show with this is, so say we have this in place, we have our bitmap to material. So this image comes from, well, it's a photograph. So if we look here, you can see that we obviously have lighting information, things like that are baked in. So one of the other aspects of Alchemist that we're looking at is ways that AI can help us, I guess take away some of the tediousness of creating or cleaning or something of a texture. Yeah. So what I'm going to do here is use our new delighter. So I'm going to run this delighter. Now this, again, it's going to run a bit slow on this particular machine that I have, just because it's, like I said, the alpha version of this. But while this is going, I'll just kind of talk over it. Yeah. So this is using an actual AI, so it's already done it. And what it's doing is it's removed all of the lighting information from this. So what we're seeing here is an actual raw albedo of what this texture is.
Using machine learning to be able to look at a photograph, determine where the lighting has come from by analyzing shadows or highlights, and then it sort of reverse engineers that, pulls the lighting out and gives you the albedo map, so you don't have any baked in lighting in your texture.
Exactly, and what we did is we took the AI and we trained it using our substance source library.
Oh yeah. So lots of data.
Yes, we had lots of data that we were able to feed into it, and we took substance source and we were able to basically have those kind of varied for different lighting scenarios.
Right.
And then the AI was trained to look at that to see ways that it could learn to how to remove that lighting from that.
Sure, because you would have had a huge amount of source photography when you're creating the materials, and then you just feed in all your gravels and rocks and grass and everything else, and for the machine learning algorithm to use as learning material, and then you're able to create this tool from that. Yeah. So that's pretty awesome, because that used to be super tedious.
Exactly, yeah. And we had tools to do that before in, say, bitmap to material, but it was primitive, I would say. I mean, it was really great at the time, but this is so much better because this is actually doing a full delighting.
And with any sort of machine learning algorithm, this is just going to get better over time, correct? I mean, you can continue training this tool as with more materials come in, expand your libraries. You can just use that to train the tool.
Well, we don't have it set up to do that, actually. So it's not going to continue to learn based on what you fed it in. So I think, and again, I'm not super well versed on.
Well, I mean, not the user feeding it materials, but algorithmic. You could continue to just improve the tool. If you wanted to,
of course. Yes, we could do
images.
that, because that was one thing I asked one of our dev team members that's here today. I said, so if as a user, the more I feed in, more imagery I feed in, is the AI still learning? But no, because that's something that this is just part that's kind of baked in now. So the training of the AI has been done already on our end. Right. But yes, we could continue to refine
you could train on your side, or train it to do something else.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So it's just one aspect of it on how we're looking at doing things. Like one of the things we look at with texturing that our CEO Sebastian said that I thought was really, really awesome was, if you look at texturing, you have scans. Yep. And so you look at scans, and it's a very great tool, produces great results, but it's not the best solution in every scenario.
Right.
Then you have procedural. It's a good tool, works really well, but it's not the best solution in every scenario. You have hand painting. Very awesome, very much needed, always will be needed, but it's not the best in every single situation. Right. So what we're trying to do is look in Alchemist ways that we can take all of those pillars and bring them together, so all of that is working together. So maybe it's hand painting, maybe it's using scans, using procedurals with the help of some AI. All of that coming together to build a real texturing solution. So it'll work in all these various situations.
Yeah, I think that's a way to describe it, as a texturing solution.
Yeah.
There's going to be vast libraries of scan materials that you can get, and even scanned images. But when I say scan materials, you have different maps that are scanned in, but you're also going to have custom BRDFs that are going to be brought in as well, and things like that. So you're going to have, as an artist, you're going to have access to all this stuff. But you need some sort of central hub to put it together for your deliverable, which is ultimately what you're responsible for.
Yeah.
And having being able to put all this stuff together and let the machine actually be creative for you, or augment your creativity by doing some of the stuff you were showing earlier is pretty cool. I like where you're going with it.
And the way I look at it is like, and again, it's not all about AI or anything, but the way I look at it, it's not the machine taking some creativity. The way I look at it is the machine doing the tedious stuff, so all the technical tedious stuff can get out of the way, so that myself as an artist can just do what I want to do and focus on creativity. And I think that's where, when we look at computers and advancements in technology, that's to me where it really shines. When a computer can just do the repetitive, boring task that I don't have to do, and I can sit and focus on the creative part.
That's what they're built for, right?
Yeah. Let them do the boring stuff and let me do the fun stuff.
So pointing out edges, pointing out things, adjusting lighting at albedo. You're going to see it with retopologizing. You're going to see it with UV mapping, tedious as hell, right?
Yes, no one likes it. No one likes it.
I'm looking for that. Maybe Siggraph 2019. I'm looking for like the UV helper where I can just sort of say those edges. Go do it. Make it perfect.
And so I think that's where we'll see technology advance. But with Allegorithmic, I think one of the things we like to look at is not just one solution to do something. We don't want to say, oh, it has to be procedural and that's it. Because it's good, but it's not good in every situation. So we want to be able to take, everything, scans, hand painting, procedural, AI. How can we, like I said, put all this together to create an ultimate set of tools that allow you to just, get in there and just be creative and work.
Yeah, and you guys have had a lot of success, and you guys you're working hard on keeping it going, and I think people are going to be really interested in seeing Alchemy when it comes out. So is it just going to show up in their account then when it's done? Is it going to be able to download it?
I believe so. I'm not on that side, but I know it'll be when it's done, it'll be part of the suite. So we'll do probably a big noise with the launch.
Right.
But it'll be like available on subscription, and you can purchase subscription, or if you're already a member, you'll just have access.
All right, Wes McDermott, one of the best demo artists in the business right here, guys. So thanks a lot for showing us this.
Thank you, Greg.
It was awesome. All right,
thanks, guys.
Take care, Wes.
Yeah, so good seeing you guys.
Yum, yum!